All right, man, peace. So ESPN has released their rankings for the upcoming season for the NBA in regards to where they would place each player in regards to their importance for their team, also in accord with all of the other players in the NBA. As usual, there are certain notable players that are a little bit lower on the totem pole than certain so-called experts would like them to be. In previous seasons, it was Kobe Bryant. Now it's Carmelo Anthony. So let's see them discuss this issue. Of course, I'm going to chime in.
All right, let's get into it because I got something that's trending that might get you a little fired up. ESPN.com is ranking the top NBA players for the 7th year in a row. The 80-person expert panel voted on pairs of players. Listen to the criteria, guys. They had to consider both the quality and the quantity of each player's contributions to his team's ability to win games. Now,
in other words, they didn't just look at empty stats. They didn't just look at a guy who was pulling up, taking mid-range jumpers and getting his numbers up. They actually were factoring in his overall effect on his team winning games.
Now, let's keep in mind, 2 years ago we talked about this. Kobe Bryant was ranked 93rd, and it probably turned out to be too high. As for this year, when 75 through 51 was unveiled, all the outrage was over the disrespect towards Carmelo Anthony being ranked 64, while Lonzo Ball is 63.
Let me say this, and I mentioned this on the previous video. I mean, in all reality, Carmelo is probably like, about the 30th or the 35th best player in the NBA right now. He's definitely outside the top 20. But in regards to his overall impact, they have him at 64. Like I've stated, I didn't see the previous 63 players. But it wouldn't shock me if his overall value is somewhere around there this season. Carmelo is a guy on his way out. Even at his best, he was not a lead player on a championship level team. Right now, he's probably the third wheel on a championship level team, if not maybe the fourth wheel on a championship level team. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. If they can make that trade to the Rockets happen, he'll have a chance to prove me wrong.
3. Melo took notice, tweeting, "Can't make sense of nonsense. A certain darkness is needed to see the stars. Don't be so blatant with the disrespect." Stephen A., where should Melo be ranked?
The answer is probably top 20.
Absolutely not. But once again, as usual, Stephen Shill Smith, he's going to defend the couple of players in the NBA who still want to talk to him. That's the reason why he tends to overrate certain players and defend them to the death, because he knows that he can get exclusives from them. He knows that he can get information from them. All right, that's the reason why he was bad-mouthing Jim Buss for the last few years, because, of course, he was getting a lot of information from Kobe Bryant, most likely, as well as other plugs that he had in the Laker organization or hovering around their organization. But there's certain players that you could tell Stephen A. is just, he just has a rapport with, so he's going to come on TV and he's going to act like they're better than they actually are. Carmelo is not a top 20 player in the NBA. Absolutely not.
But let me take a moment.
Oh no, the glasses are coming off.
Let me look into the camera, and I want America to understand this. Everybody, just because we all work at ESPN together, don't believe we all believe the same things.
You guys don't all believe the same things, but you all have to say pretty much the same things or you'll get suspended. All right, those are the facts of the matter. Just like when that issue with Ray Rice occurred and you came out and said that women also should not do things that could precipitate a domestic dispute situation, and they suspended you. Because at no point, according to liberal philosophies, is a woman ever culpable, even in the minutest degree, in what happens to her. There's nothing that she can say or do that can precipitate a reaction to her actions. Okay? You and me both know that, Stephen A. Me and you both know that you were correct in your statement. But that cokehead super whore, allegedly, Michelle Beadle, got you suspended, and you're the #1 personality on their network. So that shows you right there, the woman trumps you.
We do have independent personalities, and you're looking at one.
You're not that independent, man. You're part of a collective. You're just another ant.
This poll is a disgrace. It's an embarrassment. And as far as I'm concerned, the damn network should be ashamed for having the poll. Or who the hell came up with this list?
I told you guys in the last video, they come out with these lists so that some of their anchors can purposefully get incensed and act like there's division in the network and that they debate amongst themselves and each other. Right? Little silly fodder like this. But when it comes to serious topics, no, they're not allowed to dissent from the company line, which is, the so-called quote unquote left wing or the liberal angle. Everybody on that channel has to take a liberal stance or a liberal view, or they will be removed from the network, period.
Because they clearly know nothing about the game of basketball. I don't want to hear some stuff about some garbage criteria that you could come up with. There are 30 teams in the NBA. By putting 63 players ahead of Carmelo Anthony, you are saying that at least 2 players on every team is better than Carmelo Anthony.
No, not quite. But I mean, I guess if you're trying to help your own argument, if you need to create that pretense, but no. You have players like Golden State who have 4 players that are more important or more impactful than Carmelo Anthony. Yes, Draymond Green is more impactful than Carmelo Anthony. Absolutely.
A career near 25 point per game scorer who's repeatedly a number 1 option, who's a scoring machine and one of the prolific scorers of the modern era.
Stephen A., as usual, likes to use terms that he does not qualify. When you say modern era, the modern era pretty much is viewed as being from the 1979 draft when they drafted Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. But when he says modern era, I believe he's talking about since 2000. All right, that's what I believe he's talking about. But once again, he doesn't qualify the terms that he uses, so one is left to guess. If we're going from the year 2000, yes, Carmelo Anthony is one of the great scorers in the NBA. If we're going from 79, yes, he's a very, very prolific scorer. But I could probably name 30 guys who are better scorers than him since 1979.
Has he slipped in?
They might not have more total points than him, but just overall better scorers, meaning more diversity to their game, proficiency. Yeah, I could probably name 25 to 30 guys.
In recent memory, of course he has, primarily due to injury, and we get all of that. But even then, last year, 22 points, year before.
Look at Max Kellerman scratching his head like, when is this blowhard going to shut up so I can actually make a real point?
Year before, 21 points. Year before that, 24 points. This dude can score on anybody. He's 6'8". He's about 240. He can score from inside and outside. He's got a mid-range game, got a long-range game. He can hit free throws. He can do all. Offensively, he can put the ball on the floor. He could do it all.
Here's the problem with a lot of that. When I look at guys, that are shooting 43, 44%, is it really that they can do it all? Or is it that the offense is just so geared around them that it makes them look a little better than they actually are? I mean, look, I'm not saying that Carmelo is not a great scorer. He's a very good scorer. But when you're shooting under 45, under 44%, a lot of what you do has to be taken with a grain of salt.
Don't give me some metrics. Don't give me some analytics. Don't give me some garbage nonsense about how, oh my goodness, who contributes to winning or whatever. I'll tell you what contributes to losing, Max. People who can't score. You understand? That's what contributes to losing.
Well, that shows you why Stephen A. could never be a coach or a GM. What contributes to losing is not just players who can't score, but players who can't pass, players who don't know how to complement their teammates, players who don't play defense, players who don't rebound well. All things that Carmelo Anthony has been accused of, and one can make a good case that he really should be accused of.
And Carmelo Anthony clearly does not have that problem. You have been on the record talking about James Dolan. What a garbage owner he is. We know what a moribund franchise the New York Knicks have been. Carmelo Anthony, can he be criticized for always going for the money, not prioritizing winning over money? Fair enough. I get that. But when you tell me number 64, you're saying that 63 players from a talent perspective is better than this man.
No, they're not. They're saying that there are 63 players who are more impactful to their team and more conducive to the success for their team than Carmelo. Do I necessarily agree with that? No, I don't think that there are 63 guys who help their team win better, more than Carmelo Anthony. But, a lot of times their prognostications do end up not only being correct, but actually being a little bit understated.
It is disgraceful. It is garbage. And I am sick and tired of people hiding behind the brand that is ESPN, pretending to know a damn thing about basketball.
Are you talking about yourself, bro? which is he got the nerve to put Jerry Curl juice in that receipt and chia pet shit he got on his head.
When they clearly do not. There is no one, I repeat, no one with knowledge about the game of basketball that would look at the NBA today and say that 63 players in the NBA are better than Carmelo Anthony. I don't have the list in front of me. You know why I don't have the list in front of me?
Because you don't need facts. All you need are your emotions, Stephen A. We all know that. When you haven't been using facts for about 15 years.
Because I didn't even bother to look. That's how garbage I think the poll is.
Or that's just how lazy you are.
There's not 63 players that are better than Carmelo Anthony.
Let me ask you a question real
Garbage.
quick before I respond.
Right.
Molly brought up Kobe's ranking.
Yep.
Were you outraged at Kobe's ranking when it came out?
Yes, I was.
It turned out he was overrated.
Thank you, sir. And let me say that not only is Kobe overrated for that ranking for that season, he's overrated, period. All right? And a lot of these guys, these Kobe Bryant fans, they get mad. They come in my comments with all that silly shit. Kobe Bryant is an all-time great player. I've said that numerous times. But you got these idiots, oh, he's the GOAT. He's second to Jordan. He's top 10. No, he's not none of that shit. He's not the GOAT. He's not second to Jordan, and he's not top 10. All right? He's a top 15 all-time great player. And, you know, that's debatable if we were to go down the list, but I would put him top 15, somewhere between 11 and 15, most likely around 14 or 15. All right, but I've said already, you know, in that area from 11 to 15, you're talking about Oscar Robertson, you're talking about Isaiah Thomas, you're talking about Moses Malone, you're talking about Dr. J, you're talking about Jerry West, you're talking about Kobe. So that's 6 guys to fit 5 slots. I would probably put Kobe in there probably over Jerry West, but I mean it's debatable. All right.
He was much worse than his ranking.
Thank you, sir.
And part of that was because of injury, because he just wasn't on the court. And all that counts.
But remember, I disagreed with it. But go ahead. I disagreed with that back then, and I'll tell you why. But go ahead.
Okay.
You disagree with it because Kobe Bryant provided you with information from the Lakers management and their issues that they were having within their organization, which helped you on the air. That's why you disagree with it. If Kobe was not talking to you, you would have said, Kobe, you need to retire. And you would have said that on television about 3 or 4 years ago. All right?
Okay. That said,
Yep.
A little misdirection.
Yep.
64. Look, this looks suspiciously like clickbait, right? Like you got to release different parts of the list, then you need something to talk about. Carmelo Anthony, 64, you did the math. 2 players on every team better than him? No. Top 20, debatable. I think you probably lose that debate at this point in his career.
Absolutely. That's not even debatable. Top 20. Like, are you kidding me? I mean, Carmelo being top 30 is debatable, but I will put him in the top 30. But top 20, no way.
Here, top 30, probably. I mean, pretty tough to argue that he's not a top 30 player. In other words, that you take every team on the NBA, are there certain teams he would be the best player on? You know, like when you average it out? Yeah, like maybe the Knicks. It's unclear.
And the Nets, too.
Clear who's the best player on the
Definitely
Knicks.
top 40.
Top, of course, but you know, when you start to say debatably top 20, you know the guy's not 64. He's not 64. Now look, he doesn't play defense. And his offense is antiquated in the sense that he needs the ball, he holds on to the ball stops moving.
And I said that even before they traded for him. I would not have made that trade. All right? They gave up way too much to get Carmelo Anthony, a guy who is not a leader. He's definitely not good enough to lead you to a championship. They should have waited till the end of the season and signed him. But Carmelo has been making bad business decisions most of his career. All right? He has no patience, which is why he's in the situation that he's in now.
And in the modern NBA offense, you don't want that. But that's the way he's used. That doesn't mean that he can only play that way. And if
I think that Mike D'Antoni would beg to differ.
LaMarcus Aldridge is so much higher than Carmelo, what's the difference between LaMarcus Aldridge and Carmelo? LaMarcus Aldridge a little bit bigger. Carmelo is more offensively skilled. They do a lot of the same stuff, but Carmelo does it better. He's just a little shorter.
I think that the assumption was that LaMarcus Aldridge would be more of a presence on the defensive end, and then his size, you know, making players change their shots, things of that nature, better rebounder, etc. Right, that's the difference between LaMarcus and Carmelo, at least hypothetically.
And unlike LaMarcus Aldridge, Carmelo shows up in big moments, like in
Oh yeah, name some.
In the bigger the stage he's been on, he's actually played better, not worse.
Okay, yeah, name some big stages. Look, Carmelo made one conference finals. That was against the Lakers, I believe, in 2009. And let's be for real, the reason why they got there was because of the leadership of Chauncey Billups. Wasn't because of Carmelo. Like I said, Carmelo is not the best player on a championship level team.
Later in games when you need him the most, if insofar as there's clutch ability, I think Carmelo has demonstrated it. So yes, he's a ball stopper. No, he doesn't play defense. Yes, the game has kind of moved past that kind of ISO scorer. But ISO scoring is a valuable tool. And in terms of, listen,
ISO scoring is a valuable tool, but it's a valuable tool in clutch spots with players who make quick decisions in this NBA. Like a Kyrie Irving. Like Kyrie Irving is the ISO, he's the modern day ISO ball scorer. You give Kyrie the ball, he's going to make his quick dribble move and he's going to take it to the basket or he's going to pull up. He's not going to stand there yo-yoing the dribble for 5-6 seconds.
He's overrated, Stephen A, sometimes by you, I think.
Because that's that's one of his informants. That's why Stephen A overrates him. And that's why Carmelo cursed him out when Stephen A, broke rank and went on TV and started talking shit about him. That's why Carmelo said, you got my number, right? Like, nigga, you have no problem calling me when you want information. But now, when you know that you're going to say some slick shit, now you don't want to call me. Now you want to run on TV like a hoe.
Because you and also a lot of NBA players look at all the things he can do, and he can do a lot. But just because you have all the tools doesn't make you a great player. It's how you deploy them. Similarly, to those who overrate him, people underrate him because of the way sometimes his tools are deployed. There is no way he's the 64th best player. He's much, much better than that.
But do you think part of it, Stephen A, is not making players around him better? Because they're saying winning games. I know he's a prolific scorer, but making the rest of the...
Once again, they don't know basketball.
That's normally what people say when they can't refute the truth. No, Carmelo does not make his teammates better. No, he does not. He never has. When he does well, which is score from the mid-range when he's hot. Other than that, he's an aging ISO scorer. He doesn't leap like he used to. He can't get his shot off over defenders like he used to. He gets his shot blocked a lot, especially when he tries to take it to the basket. He has to pump fake a lot. He has a weak left hand. He's not a good rebounder. He is a good free throw shooter, even though in the clutch sometimes he struggles from the free throw line. His 3-point shot is not as good as it used to be. It's not as consistent, which happens when players get older because they don't have the legs they used to have. Carmelo's a useful asset on a team with two superstars. Right? He's a great third option.
Okay, it's just that simple. And I'm just going to call it what it is. I don't give a damn that they work at the same company as me. You don't know basketball. There's not 63 players in the NBA better than Carmelo Anthony. Let's also take into a couple of facts. If Carmelo Anthony averages 20 points a game this coming season, he will be only the third player in NBA history to do it consistently over the course of 15 years. Michael Jordan and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar are the other two. That's number one.
Well, and one of you brothers in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong. Won't LeBron also be doing the same thing? So, you'd have to add him to the list also. The difference is that LeBron actually does things to help his team win. But that is a great achievement by Carmelo if he can do that for 15 straight years, average 20 a game. That is a great achievement, and I'm sure that is something that he'll go for because, really, what else is he going to go for? He damn sure ain't going to go for a championship.
Number two, let's look at the players that they have on this list ahead of Carmelo Anthony.
You're ready to
because I want to make sure of it. Danny Green.
Yeah, it's about time you looked at the list. Shit, you work for ESPN. You should have been prepared for the debate. You actually, you should have looked over the list. No, I don't need to look over that list because, look, I already know where I have Carmelo, in my mind. He's somewhere, 30 to 35, somewhere around there. I don't need to look at their list. They go on by a lot of what they call metrics, which are, different criteria that they would use to evaluate how important or how impactful a player is going to be. That's fine. I don't need to look at that. I don't work for ESPN. But Stephen A is a professional debater. He should be more prepared.
Green of the Spurs.
Ridiculous.
Harrison Barnes of the Dallas Mavericks.
Well, if Harrison Barnes comes in and gives you 21 a game and plays better defense than Carmelo, and Carmelo's giving you 21 a game, who's going to be more impactful? You tell me.
Danilo Gallinari?
No.
You know, so really? Who was on the Denver Nuggets? Listen, I don't even remember where he's. I think
Danilo Gallinari was traded with 11,000 other players for Carmelo Anthony.
Listen.
Yes, and they've all won the same amount of championships since that trade. A big fat zero.
Listen, I like Drew Holiday for the Pelicans, but is he better than Carmelo Anthony? No.
I don't know. Ask Anthony Davis. Look at their record when Drew Holiday plays as opposed to when he doesn't. They're a playoff team when Drew Holiday plays. History has shown that. They're a playoff caliber team when he plays.
This is just disgraceful. Okay, it makes no sense whatsoever. Now I understand that you take things into consideration. Let me tell you what they don't take into consideration. What your job description is and what the load it is that you carry. Carmelo Anthony does not play good defense. That is fair, Max. You are accurate. Here might be the reason why. Because when you know you got to carry the load offensively, right or wrong, people tend to slack off on the defensive side of the ball.
No, sir. No, sir. He is not carrying the load offensively. He has Porzingis there to help him. So that's bullshit. All right. As a matter of fact, one might argue that he's not even the main option on that team anymore offensively, or at least that he should not be anymore. He probably still is, but he probably should not be anymore. That's number one. So he's not carrying the load offensively. Number two, you don't play poor defense because of your offensive load. You play poor defense because you have, number one, you have poor fundamentals defensively. A lot of these players don't get into a proper defensive stance, meaning they don't bend their knees. Why is that? Because they don't have the leg strength to bend their knees on the defensive end because they're not in proper condition. There are very few players in the NBA. I mentioned this on a previous video. In the condition to play both ends of the court, offensively and defensively, is very few. Carmelo is definitely not one of them. Now, as I've already stated, it looks like he's lost weight, that he's taking his conditioning a little bit more seriously. I mean, as he should. When you get in your early 30s as an athlete, you do have to shed, that's those 7 to 8 pounds so that you can, try to bring back a little quickness. But no, his lack of defense, he's never played good defense. Even in Denver, he wasn't a good defender. So no, that is not an excuse, nor is it a reason.
Because they prioritize the fact that they're the number one option offensively. Whether it was in Mike Woodson's offense, whether it was Mike D'Antoni's before Mike Woodson, whether it was in Cats after him, the reality is that you have to deal with that. So ultimately what it comes down to is ability. We don't sit up there and just look at metrics. We don't look at the collateral impact somebody may have. We also look at their ability, because the bottom line is when you get paid those dollars, you know why we're looking at your dollars? Because we're asking, excuse me, what is it that you bring to the table? Carmelo Anthony, we can debate the top 30, I say top 20, but don't tell us that 63 players, and it is disgraceful, and we embarrass our brand when it comes to basketball by putting out bogus stuff like that.
Well, let me say this. When they put a guy like a Carmelo Anthony at that number of 64, what they're basically saying is that the game has passed him by. They're not necessarily saying that in a one-on-one tournament that 63 guys are going to beat Carmelo one-on-one. That's not what the ranking is about, Stephen A. It's basically them saying that the game has passed Carmelo by. He still has a little bit left, but he doesn't have enough left to really impact the team. Their view is that Lonzo Ball will be more impactful for his team than Carmelo Anthony will be for the Knicks. All right, and that indeed is debatable. I mean, you look at, no disrespect, Carmelo Anthony played on a Knicks team with Porzingis, and they were terrible last year. I don't give a damn who the coach is. If you're a top 20 player like Stephen A. claims he is, you're supposed to win at least 40 games with that Knicks team.
Well, let me just say something about that. I don't care how unpopular it is. If that's the conclusion that we come to, or people then we should go with it and stand up to the criticism. I disagree with the conclusion here. I agree with you. I disagree with the conclusion. When Patrick Beverley is that many slots, 13 slots ahead of Carmelo, 14 slots ahead of Carmelo, I love Patrick Beverley. Love him. He's a winning player. He's a dog on defense. He's the kind of guy you want on your team. And I understand if you say Carmelo's maybe not as much the kind of player I want. I get that. He's that type, that the high usage ISO player who doesn't play defense. But Carmelo Anthony has more value and will contribute more to a winning team than Patrick Beverley.
That's debatable. If Carmelo Anthony gives you 22 points a game on 43% shooting and terrible defense, very little rebounding, no leadership, poor ball movement, and you get a guy like a Patrick Beverley on the Clippers who may average 12 a game, but He's taking away 9-10 points per game from the guy that he's guarding. He's being a captain on the defensive end. He's moving the basketball. It is debatable in regards to what his actual impact will be for his team compared to Carmelo, even though we know that Patrick Beverley will not be viewed as an alpha on his team and Carmelo will. So, I mean, that's what the ranking is about. It's not really gauging what your role is really trying to gauge your potential impact.
Maybe not dollar for dollar, but salary cap stuff wasn't taken into consideration here. I want to bring up one last thing, Stephen A. Because sometimes these things get resolved this way.
Okay.
Last year, you and I were debating Carmelo.
Yep.
And you had him, I thought, way too high. And the perception of the world, at least, is much more aligned with what I thought last year about Carmelo.
Sure, and I
still
think y'all are wrong. And this is the other thing. Let's get back to the whole Kobe element and what have you.
Yeah, let's get back there. So some of his fanboys, they can get their little Kobe panties in a bunch.
When they rated Kobe in the 90s, one of the things I brought into the equation was basketball IQ.
Which Kobe has very little of. He's got one of the lowest basketball IQs of any all-time great player. Definitely the most overrated basketball IQ. Basketball IQ is your ability to make the right decisions. Kobe Bryant does not make good decisions with the basketball. That's why they had to bring Phil Jackson back on the team. He is a mercurial talent, phenomenal scorer, probably the greatest streak scorer of all time. When he gets hot, he's probably the greatest streak scorer to ever play in the NBA. All right. From the basket all the way out to 30 feet, he's probably the greatest streak scorer to ever play when he gets hot. But as far as basketball IQ, meaning understanding how to make the right play at the right time, no. Very, very overrated.
The other thing I brought into the equation are the parts around you. You're old. You're coming off of injury. You're not what you used to be. Fair enough. But the flip side to it is that if you're playing with a team, let's go football for a second and think about Bill Belichick. What you have is a guy in Bill Belichick who's a genius as a coach. He has a big-time quarterback in Tom Brady. And
yes, and that's a good attempt at an analogy, but I think that we're going to see, if he tries to bring that analogy home, comparing Kobe Bryant to Tom Brady, we're going to see how erroneous his statement about Kobe's basketball IQ is.
And constantly they're preaching to one another, to everybody else. Do your job. But when you don't have a team, of course you're going to go out there, particularly if you're a former star, even if you've dissipated skill-wise. And what you're going to do is you're going to try to do everything. You're going to look awful doing it.
No, sir. No, sir. And that just made my point. How can you compare Kobe Bryant to Tom Brady based off of the stipulation that Kobe Bryant has a quote-unquote high basketball IQ? We all know that Tom Brady has a high football IQ, but what does Tom Brady do? He makes his teammates better. Right? Bill Belichick makes his team better through game planning. Once again, that is why they had to bring back Phil Jackson, because Phil Jackson is the one who had to rein in Kobe and his bad decisions. What Tom Brady does is he takes players who wouldn't be anything anywhere else and he makes them stars. Kobe Bryant, if he was as great as everybody makes him out to be as a team player and as a basketball IQ savant, he would have been able to take these guys and change his game and show them the ropes and bring out the best in them, as opposed to still trying to play the same game that he played when he was 22 years old.
You're going to be a shell of yourself, and that is that. That does not mean that your ranking is accurate. It means that, the onus that has been placed on your shoulders wasn't taken into consideration.
That may be true, but let me tell you your blind spot, I believe, in this situation, and it's many NBA players' blind spots, because you played basketball on a high level, college ball on a high level.
I tried.
Yeah, he rode the bench on a high level. All right, that's what he did. His ass gathered a lot of splinters in Division III basketball.
I tried, but go ahead.
But you did. You got a scholarship to play basketball.
Yes, I did.
So you look, and other players look at Carmelo and looked at Kobe then, and you recognize the things he does are hard to do. And he does so many of those hard-to-do things at the highest level that you can't tell me that this other dude who doesn't do that is better than him. But what you don't see in that case, and other players don't see it too, guys who play at a high level, is that all may be true. But skill is just a means to an end. So if you can't stay on the court, or if you deploy your skill in a way that doesn't optimize your team's success, then even if you do things that are harder than what that guy can do, it doesn't mean you're better than him.
Exactly. And that's why I stated that Stephen A. is looking at it from an alpha versus a supporting cast player perspective, as opposed to what the ranking is actually about, which is, what you're going to do to impact your team winning. All right. So Max actually understands to a degree the rankings, which is expected, because that's right up Max's alley. All those metrics and all that other stuff.
That's fair.
And Kobe was way overrated because he couldn't stay on the court.
Yes, way overrated, both in his last year and in his career. All right. But a phenomenal talent. Absolutely.
But Max, they're projecting about what he is and where he's going to rank. They're taking into consideration what they've seen, but they're also projecting. And I'm saying to you, how do you sit up there and look? Lonzo Ball has never played the game of basketball, and he's better than Melo. Now? It's disgraceful.
You want to put Melo
it's disgraceful.
You want?
Well, they're going to look at the team and they're going to say, what are the Knicks prognosticated to win with Carmelo Anthony this year, as opposed to what the Lakers are prognosticated to do with Lonzo Ball? That's how they're looking at it. They're not looking at Carmelo's, last 14 years, Stephen A.
One has like some shock value. I could go with that. I think you could argue that there's at least a player on every team better than him, and maybe some teams have a couple extra guys like that. In no universe is he 60.
Look, he didn't even need to respond on social media because he had Max and Stephen A. to the rescue.
People get on me all the time. We sit in this chair, we put on our big boy pants, we got to do what we got to do. But there are a few things in life that I sit here and I say I know definitively. Damn it, I know my basketball.
Well, that's debatable. Stephen A. does, he does have some good takes on basketball, but a lot of his takes are clouded by the players who he associates with, who he's close to, and who provide him with the information that he needs.
And I am here to tell you, it is disgraceful. Some of the stuff that the folks associated with this network puts together, acting like they know the game.
All right,
they
we gotta leave it there. We gotta leave it there.
They don't know.
It'll be interesting to see
somebody
what
needs to say it, so I'm
LeVar
gonna say
has to say about.
Gotta say it. All right, so now they had LeVar Ball on the show, and they asked him about his son being ranked 1 ahead of Carmelo Anthony. And don't think that they did not do that strategically. All right. For them to take, one of the touchstone players of the last 12 plus years in Carmelo Anthony and purposefully rank him behind the player that they pretty much feel like is going to carry one of their touchstone franchises in the Lakers. They knew that juxtaposition was going to make for a big talking point, especially for the dad who, is a verbose and who's not afraid to state what his opinions are. So, they pretty much set it up on a tee for LeVar. So let's see what he had to say about his son being ranked 1 ahead of Carmelo Anthony.
LeVar, what about the rankings on ESPN that just come out, and your son is ranked 1 spot ahead of Carmelo Anthony? Lonzo hasn't played a minute of NBA ball. Carmelo Anthony's a future Hall of Famer.
Go ahead and sound ignorant.
How in the world did we get here where somebody's talking about a ranking in the 60s?
Thank you, sir. That's why I said what I said. If they're ranking you in the 60s, that's not them saying that there are actually 63 players that are better than you. That's them saying that the game has passed you by. That's all they're saying. Right? They don't really believe that Marcus Smart is better than Carmelo Anthony. They don't believe that Patrick Beverley is better than Carmelo Anthony. What they're saying is that the game has passed him by. All right? And that's what happens to great players. Great players, when they're, when they're at the end of their career, they're not getting lit up by other great players. They're getting lit up by guys coming off the bench. That's when they know it's time for them to go. It's like Charles Barkley said. Charles Barkley said he couldn't beat Othello Harrington one-on-one in practice. He said, it's time for me to retire. That's how you know. But, Carmelo's not quite there yet, but, he's approaching that area. But, LeVar's right. By the time you get, in the 60s, that's not even really about how good or bad you are. That's really just saying that you're no longer relevant.
Don't rank me in those 60s. 60 is like 80. He should be mad that he ain't in the top 10.
Yes, sir.
But you know what? No. Carmelo.
Got it.
You talking about you arguing with a dude talking about he's ranked higher than me at 60? Man, don't rank me at no 60 and think I'm aware about it. It's an opinion to keep everybody talking about who should be the best.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you worry about 60 and 63, you worry about the wrong thing. His game is going down on the fact that he's getting older. That's what happens to all the ball players.
Exactly.
But 64.
64.
64, Carmelo Anthony, 64. See, that makes me embarrassed for our network. Somebody did that.
Well, here's the thing. You saying 30 teams or whatever, 2 on each team.
That's right.
But some teams got 4 and 5 people better than him.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
No team got 5 players better than Carmelo Anthony, or even 4. Well, maybe the Warriors.
Well, all right, let's look at the Spurs. Come on. You gotta figure out what he's doing. He's been with the Knicks.
You guys
He's
need
a
like
good
2 of the
guy.
best
He's a good
teams.
guy, but who gonna play with him? He's holding the ball too long.
Thank you, sir.
That's fair enough, but the
So
point
I'm
is...
saying that makes you a better player because you score more points.
What
I
I'm
don't
saying,
mean nothing.
but listen.
Exactly. That's why I said when you're looking at how many points a guy scores, you have to evaluate how proficient is he in getting those points. When you're looking at guys averaging 21, 22 a game and they're only shooting 42, 43% from the field, that's not a great player. That's just a player most likely on a bad team or an average team who has an offense that is totally centered around them. Look at how Max Kellerman is leaning in now. He's waiting to see how Stephen A is going to respond because he agrees completely with LeVar in regards to what he's saying about Carmelo. Max is like, come on, Stephen A, let me see what you got.
The point is,
What about that
as
too?
you would know, you can't win if you can't score. And there's something to be said about somebody that can put the ball in the hole. Everybody got a job description.
Right.
And I often bring this up to Max. Let me see what you think about this. I always bring up the name Allen Iverson, and here's why. Because Allen Iverson was a scoring machine.
Right.
Didn't play defense. Had a lot of steals because he took chances because he knew he couldn't man up defensively because he was too small.
Right, exactly.
What happened is the Sixers came in there. Pat Croce hires Larry Brown. Larry Brown brings in Billy King as his vice president of basketball administration. The combination of the three, Croce, Billy King, Larry Brown, primarily Larry Brown, puts a team around this guy because he knows what he was working with. Right. Nobody has done that for Melo.
Oh, bullshit. Look, let me say this. First off, Allen Iverson was a great player, but he's another guy who's a bit overrated. Stephen A talks about this Larry Brown, Allen Iverson relationship like it was Tom Brady and Bill Belichick or Tim Duncan and Popovich. They were together for like 3 years. Larry Brown got the hell out of there because he couldn't deal with Allen's bullshit anymore. I think they were together maybe 3 or 4 years. And, Allen Iverson is a guy who ran the best coach that he ever had out of town. They were only great for 1 season. Carmelo Anthony, he had a good team in Denver. He was not able to get the job done. Period. Stop making excuses.
That's my issue. What do you say to that?
I'm saying, Melo, as your career changes, you got to get people to want to play with you.
Exactly. You have to change your game. That's his point. And that's the same point that I made about Kobe Bryant in his last year. He did not make anybody better on that team. Everybody talks about how he played on a terrible team. Look, when Jordan went to the Wizards, that team had less talent than the Laker team had with Kobe Bryant. Okay? They had less talent. Even if you want to say it's debatable, both those years, they came down to the last week whether or not they were going to make the playoffs or not, the Wizards. The Lakers were nowhere near making the playoffs. They were the worst team in the NBA.
I agree with that.
Okay, and it's very hard if you swing the ball and now you're taking all these dribbles.
Okay.
That's not going to happen. I don't want to play with no guy like that because
Thank you, sir.
now I'm just sitting around. Mm-hmm. So he's not doing the whole thing about the winning. Sometimes you got to make sacrifices.
Exactly. There's a lot that goes into winning, not just making elbow jump shots. You notice Stephen A is a lot less dramatic. He's a lot less theatrical when debating basketball with LeVar because he knows that LeVar actually knows what he's talking about. All right? And he respects LeVar's opinion more because, you know what LeVar is? Like you ever see a big mouth black chick always yelling and carrying on? But a lot of times when they run into another black chick who got an even bigger mouth, they fold up a little bit because they're like, okay, this bitch is going to go ham on me. That's how Stephen A is with LeVar. Stephen A's like, you know what? I'm going to chill with LeVar because LeVar will let me have it.
Okay.
You got to make people want to play with you.
Strange question for you. On a different note.
Yeah, I bet it is on a different note. You notice he didn't want to debate that with LeVar. He let that shit drop.
Your son, is the name LaMelo?
LaMelo.
Why is it LaMelo? Why is it LaMelo? Where did you get the name from? I'm just curious. Because it's a nice name. What? LaMelo. LaMelo. I'm just wondering.
LaMelo was before Carmelo. I had the names I was going to name my boys before they was
They ain't got nothing to do
know
with
what?
Melo.
They ain't got nothing to do with
Melo.
Melo.
I'm just saying.
Everything starts with a I had these names already put out.
Stephen A. better watch yourself. LeVar type knock his ass out just for trying to imply that he named his son after another man.
I'm just checking.
I told my wife, you got to name none of my sons. I got the names before they even came out.
LaMelo and everything. I'm thinking, hey, this brother that won a national championship at Syracuse that's been averaging better almost 25 a game throughout his career. It's a special brother right here. I'm just saying.
Did you see Molly's face when LeVar said he told his wife, you don't got to name none of my sons. I already got the names already picked out. Molly's face, her facial expression just totally changed. Let me rewind it. Watch this. Watch when he says that he already had the names of all his sons already picked out. Watch how Molly's face goes from a smile to a frown, because she's another liberal female in her early 30s on television who feels like she should have total control of the child when she gets pregnant. Watch her face.
I'm just checking.
I told my wife, you got to name none of my sons. I got the names before they even came out.
LaMelo and everything. I'm thinking, hey, this brother that won a national.
See how her face changed? See, brothers, you gotta watch everything, man. You gotta watch everything. That's how you don't get caught off guard.
A national championship at Syracuse that's been averaging better almost 25 a game throughout his career. It's a special brother right here. I'm just saying.
Nobody even was calling Melo then. They didn't even know Carmelo. They thought his name was Carmelo.
They know his name now.
They know his name now.
You said they thought his name was Carmelo.
Going back to your brand, though, Jay-Z came out and said that you have a lot of vision. Obviously, Jay-Z, someone we all respect, music, business, etc. His wife, the whole deal.
Okay.
Look, stop trying to speak for everybody. Everybody don't respect Jay-Z. Jay-Z is a guy who was a great rapper back in the 90s. He made a few deals with with the so-called Jew Leah Cohen to X Dame Dash out of the deal, most likely. And look, in my honest opinion, is a whole other topic. To me, Jay-Z, the reason why he X'd Dame Dash out of the deal was because he most likely suspected that Dame Dash was trying to groom Cameron to replace him, and eventually Jay-Z was going to be the blood sacrifice for the success of Dame Dash and Cameron. So I think that Jay-Z executed a preemptive strike and got rid of Dame Dash. And, he was able to kill two birds with one stone because he was able to appease Leah Cohen, who never liked Dame Dash in the first place and wanted him out. All right. But, that's neither here nor there. The topic was the Carmelo Anthony ranking. And, that's pretty much it on that. All right. So now ESPN has released their list of the top 10 NBA players. Let's see what they have to say about this list.
The NBA's top 10, all right? We already knew who was included in the top 10 on NBA.com's 2017-18 predictive NBA rankings yesterday. Today we found out the order. Gotta say, rather predictable.
And I would say pretty correct, even though I don't know if I would have Chris Paul number 7. That's a little high. I think that maybe John Wall, it may be time for Chris Paul to come out and John Wall to go in, and maybe John Wall be around number 9 or number 10. But other than that, I pretty much agree. I personally would switch Kawhi and Steph Curry, but I really don't have a problem with Kawhi being above Steph. He's about a half step above Steph, but it is what it is. They made the right decision putting Russell Westbrook below Steph Curry. I don't really have a problem with anything else there as far as the personnel.
Hard to crack those top 3. Let's focus on LeBron James, Jamel. How long is it during his 15th season? How long is he going to have that number 1 spot on lock?
Well, why does it seem like, at least...
As long as he keeps dealing with biogenesis and some of these other firms and corporations that's helping him stay afloat, allegedly.
At least the last 3 or 4 years, that there seems to be this, I don't want to call it a groundswell. That might be overstating it, but this desire to see someone in this spot, right? And only at the end of every season for us to say, okay, but it was LeBron. That was the answer. But this year, because you notice it started after KD won Finals MVP. This year, it feels like coming into the season, more people are willing to consider the argument that Kevin Durant is, at the very least, right here, neck and neck with LeBron James?
Well, they are neck and neck. It's debatable. LeBron is still number one, but it's debatable. KD is 1A, just like I think that Steph is 2, and that Kawhi is 2A. It's very, very close. I personally would put Steph over KD just out of respect for what he's accomplished. All right, but that's just me. But I have no problem with people saying that KD is above Steph because of the diversity of things that KD can do at his height and at his skill set.
Maybe 1A.
Right.
How long here's the thing, like,
so maybe it might be this season.
Historic stat line in the finals in defeat, but how long can you be the best player when you have a player of KD's caliber winning a championship or championships? When you're the best player in the game, at a certain point, you can't keep finishing runner-up and just be considered the best player indefinitely. As good as he is, and I do believe there's a second level. I watch those workouts. I do, excuse me, not a second level, a next level for LeBron James, even at this late stage in his career.
You got to consider this part, too. For the first time in a while, I'm not saying, I don't know if we definitively know whether or not the Cavs are the best team in the East. So...
I don't know about that. I think that they're going to be better than you think. I think that the Cavs will still definitively be the best team in the East, especially by playoff time. But we'll see. I would love to see them. I would love to see somebody give them a run.
Here's the thing. What happens? You mentioned finishing runner-up. What if he doesn't even make it to be the runner-up?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He could not get out of the East.
Exactly.
And he typically paces himself
and that might be the
in the regular season.
That takes him out of being, quote, the top player.
And then you got a guy like Kawhi. Well, again, the Warriors would have probably won last year anyway. But given how the Spurs looked when he was healthy, before he got hurt against the Warriors, considered the best two-way guy in the league already. That's another title. You got best player. I love basketball, all the different titles you got. You got player to start a team with.
Right.
You got player, that you like to build around. Or you got the best two-way player.
And let me say this. They never even had that title of best two-way player back in the day. You were just the best player. Now, they came out with the best two-way player. Really, the guy who started that was Michael Jordan. All right? For those of you who don't know, a lot of you brothers, who are a little older, Michael Jordan is, he was the first player to ever win the MVP, the scoring title, and the Defensive Player of the Year award, and have over 200 steals and 100 blocks in the same season. And I believe he's still the only player to have accomplished all of that in that same season and shoot over 53% from the field. All right. He had over 200 steals, 100 blocks. He was the first player to do that. He did it that season. He averaged 35 a game. He shot 54% from the field. And he was the Defensive Player of the Year as well as being the NBA's MVP. That's when they really started that all-around player, two-way player talk. And, it kind of went out of style for a while in the late 90s and 2000s when the game became more specialized. When you started to have players like Bruce Bowen and Shane Battier, who were great defenders, but were not really expected to do much on the offensive end. So, I give Kawhi credit. You have to be in great condition to play both ends of the court like that.
You got the best player. You got
the best big man.
Yeah, exactly. Kawhi's got the two-way title.
All-around player.
Right. He's got the two-way title of Finals MVP on his resume. Is there another level for him to go to? And, of course, as we mentioned, KD, really just getting started with Golden State. But I want to take this opportunity to shout out all the screen grabbers out there, all right, who like to use us for attention. In case you didn't know, these are NBA.com's predictive rankings for next season. So I just want to run it back from yesterday, throw that up that I had on my list from yesterday, my 1 through 10 that I'm predicting this year. There it is, right there.
All right,
that number 3 is I'm saying, and we can run this back at the end of the season, that this season, at the end of this season, Greek Freak will vault into that conversation among the best handful of players in the NBA.
I like the Greek Freak, but he has to improve his outside game. That will be the difference between him being, around number 9 and number 10 or number 10 and getting that high. For him to get that high that quick, he's going to have to seriously improve his jump shot.
Ain't you working out with Dirk right now?
Yeah.
Are you supposed to be working out with Dirk this summer, getting a jumper? Okay, so that's what that means. So holler at me at the end of the season. I'm not saying that he is number 3 now. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? This is predictive. That's called a bold statement. There you go.
No, that's just called talking shit.
Giannis as a top 5 player.
Next year, he coming.
Right.
That boy coming.
Way to bowl us
We're
over.
going to break.
We are.
But anyway, peace.